Howdy, welcome to another edition of ACC Baseball, etc. Howdy's appropriate. I saw you were wearing boots, Easter-themed boots over the weekend. Danny Graves, Daron Vaught. Another week of ACC baseball gravy, and another instance of we don't know what to make of certain results, right? I mean, the ACC is truly just a Rubik's Cube. 5 teams now ranked according to D1 Baseball as the new rankings came out this morning. Wake Forest still number 2. Virginia with a sweep of Miami is, I think, number 7.
Still 7, yeah.
Still 7.
They didn't move up.
Yeah. Boston College swept by Louisville, so the Cardinals jumped the Eagles in the rankings, but they're just one spot apart, right? 10 and 11. North Carolina up to 13 in this week's rankings as well. And it's just it's a wacky. It was a wacky weekend for a number of reasons. Maybe we should start here. Well, let's start here. Let's start way back. Let's pull way back. First of all, how was your weekend? Good Easter?
Yeah, I had a good Easter. I actually went to a family friend's house, and we were playing pickleball, which I've never played before, and I actually loved it. And then got to shoot some hockey pucks on a sport court. And I've never shot a hockey puck before ever in my life, and it was the coolest thing ever. It was hard to do, but it was awesome.
Did you take the wheels? Were you on skates?
No, because there's too many kids around, and I didn't want to cause a disruption. And if I fall and hurt myself, then all the kids would be like, "Oh no!" So yeah, no wheels.
Kids would have been like Nelson from The Simpsons. Like that's what it would have been. You just didn't want to embarrass yourself. I respect it. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, and I didn't want to carry all my pads.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That sounds like a pretty good weekend, good Easter. Yeah. I did a lot of sitting around waiting to see if I was going to call games because of the weather in this portion of the United States. So if you follow ACC baseball, assumedly you do, you probably saw NC State at Wake Forest was relegated from a 3-game set to just a doubleheader on Easter Sunday. The same thing was the case for Virginia Tech at Duke, which was my series. I got to do both of those games of the doubleheader yesterday as we're recording this on Monday, as we usually do. So that was a series, but in both cases, those were series that were supposed to be played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They got 2 games, which is good compared to the alternative of having to bang an entire series. But in Wake Forest's case, they get another sweep, though it was 1 fewer games, and then Virginia Tech and Duke split. So we had a couple of good games at Jack Coombs Field. They moved it. It was supposed to be at Durham Bulls Athletic Park, all artificial surface at Jack Coombs. So pretty early on, when they knew weather was going to be an issue, they said, well, let's move it to Coombs just to ensure that we can get a little more ball in. So not a super Eastery Easter for me, working a couple of games, but it was good. It was a good day. Any day going to do a couple of games is a good one.
Yeah. And it probably stunk too, because during your downtime, you couldn't watch the Masters because they were behind too, getting suspended in all their play. So yeah, it was rain everywhere. So yeah, it was just not a good weekend for outdoor sports.
Do you have a specific memory of a weather-affected weekend or game that would have been like the most severe? Because we talked about it all day yesterday on the air, sort of the psychological piece of it. I mean, these are guys who, especially in the case of, on Friday, I did UCF at East Carolina. That turned out to be game 3 of their series because they pushed everything up. They played a doubleheader on Thursday and then game 3 on Friday to miss the weather, and they almost didn't miss it. They started at 12 noon and got through 9 innings on Friday. It was 2-2. They start the top of the 10th. Here comes the downpour. So we had to pause action for an hour and a half in the top of the 10th inning before getting it. Ultimately, I think it was the 12th, bottom of the 12th, that ECU walked it off. But they got out in front, and their opponent UCF was somehow able to manage the early travel to get there to do 2 games on Thursday, and they squeaked out with 3 games. But if you waited at all, as was indicative of Wake Forest and Duke's situations, then you basically had to kick until Sunday. And although it is legal, it would be legal, Danny. We looked into this. It would be legal to play a triple header.
Really?
Yes.
9 innings each game.
Yep. The one caveat, because it was, I don't know how seriously it was discussed with Virginia Tech and Duke, but I know it was at least brought up. Can we do this? It is legal. The one caveat is that game 3, first pitch for game 3 has to be thrown before 6 p.m. So theoretically, you start at like 10 or 11 a.m., you could maybe get it done. But they just played 2. It was fine. But yeah, do you have a game that or a series that comes to mind as the most severe weather affected?
Yeah. Gosh, I couldn't imagine playing a triple header. So one, you asked me if I have a memory of it. Well, we know the answer to that.
Of course.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah, always. So 1999 with Cincinnati Reds, we were going into game 162. And we were 1 game behind, or 1.5 games behind Houston. So Houston ended up winning the division. We had no chance to catch them, because if we win the last game, then we're still 1 game behind. But for the wild card, the Mets were a half game ahead of us. They had won earlier in the day. So we're in Milwaukee, the old county stadium, and it was like just disgusting weather all morning. We were supposed to play at 1:00, and we had to play this game, to see if we can get into a playoff game, tiebreaker. So the game was obviously postponed. We sat for like 7 hours in the clubhouse waiting to see what time we were going to play in a must-win game. And Pete Harnish was our starter that day, who was our opening day starter. And he'd just gone through his battle with quitting chewing tobacco. So he had the anxiety issues going throughout the season. And oh my gosh, to have him have to sit there for 7 hours in a do or die game after going through anxiety, it was just the worst feeling. Like, I felt so bad because, I wasn't going to play unless I had to play later in the game.
Yeah.
So I could just sit there. I had to sit there anyways, but this was the most nerve-wracking thing ever. Finally, the rain stopped. We started the game and we ended up winning, thankfully, this do or die game, but we lost in the tiebreaker game the next day. So we got home at like 3 a.m, had to play the next night on the Monday for the tiebreaker against the Mets, and Al Leiter shut us out. But
go figure.
Yeah, but it was amazing, like that Harnish was able to, get through this battle of 7 hours of oh my gosh, are we going to play? Oh my gosh, if I stink, we're going to go home. And
yeah. Well, and I mean, because you did it for at least 1 season at the big league level as a starter. I mean, routine is everything.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no routine that day.
No,
it was like, I don't know the exact amount of time they have to give you, like, okay, game's going to start in 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever it is. You still can't have a routine after sitting for 6 or 7 hours. So, I mean, it was awful, but it was a game that had to be played, and thankfully we won it.
I'm going to have to, me, I do my digging on Baseball Reference. I'm going to have to look up that box score and see what Harnish did, his line. Did you throw in that one or no? Okay. So you weren't needed. That's good.
No. So we won by a few extra runs, and but see, if we would have won 2 out of 3 in that series, we wouldn't have had to worry about a tiebreaker. Yeah. But the Mets ended up finishing the season like just crushing everybody, won a bunch of games in a row, and like put the pressure on us, and we folded.
It happened.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
All right. So general thoughts coming out of the weekend. I mean, we've got our teams that look, not everybody can be the SEC, although that was a bit wacky too at the top with LSU and South Carolina this weekend. So I think the real point that we need to make is that not every team is going to be exactly what you think they are at their best every game.
Right.
Because I mean, like Miami, it feels like they sweep and then get swept, and then get swept. We have come around on Boston College as, you know, that's the best team they've had in their program's history probably to this point. And they get swept by a Louisville team that we knew from the start of the season was going to be good, but has kind of like crept under the radar for most of this year. There's just a lot of beating each other up going on atop the ACC right now. And then you look at the standings and you see teams like Duke is flirting with 500. Virginia Tech is a projected tournament team right now, which we can maybe get into later, but I don't understand quite how that's true. Although Drew Hackenberg threw like his All-American self yesterday. He was dominant. 8 innings, career high 11 strikeouts against Duke, and brought the Hokies back in the doubleheader to split it. They were able to win the second game of 2. But I mean, like, they're a projected tournament team right now. We're going to talk with Jack Leggett, the legendary former head coach at Clemson, who is back on staff as a special assistant of some kind. I'm not 100% sure what his exact title is. His role is different, though, because Leggett, when I went to Clemson and saw him, he joked with me that the NCAA would get on him if he hit a fungo or threw BP or anything like that. So he can be there, he can be around, but there are certain things like he wouldn't be able to coach at first or third, for instance. He can't go out for a mound visit, I don't believe. There are stipulations. Anyways, he's back on staff at Clemson, and they're actually going to retire his number 7 at Doug Kingsmore Stadium this Saturday. So for that, we asked that he come on with us. He's great enough to give us some of his time. So he's going to be with us here shortly. But Clemson is a team that, if things go a little bit differently in the first half of the season for them, they're probably looking at a tournament projection. And that's not to say that they can't make a regional if they haul off a bunch of ACC wins starting now. It's just it's a wild outlook for the league.
It is. And so this is why we've been saying how great this league is. There's so many teams that it's not top heavy like it used to be. And I'm quoting Coach Avent. It's not just a few teams that are up there just battling to get to the regionals or the juggernauts in the ACC. You look up and down the standings. Overall, there's 2 ACC teams that have a below 500 overall record. But in ACC play, there's only 6 teams that are above 500 out of 14. So, yes, they're beating each other up. And it doesn't mean that, you know, we talk about Miami getting swept and then they're sweeping somebody and then getting swept. They're still a good ball club. Boston College got swept by Louisville. Boston College is still a good ball club. They just ran into Louisville like playing perfectly right now. Everything they're doing is right. And, you know, of course, Wake Forest and Virginia are doing what they're doing, but everybody else is right there in this ACC conference of there's no telling who's going to end up behind these 2 teams in each of their divisions. The Atlantic, Wake Forest, pretty much going to own that one. Coastal Virginia is going to own that one, but everybody else after that is right there. So
it just feels like we're on our way to, there are too many good teams for the number of slots that are going to be granted. Whether that's from an ACC tournament perspective or an NCAA regionals perspective. So every game matters at this point because you want to set yourself up to not be the one that thinks that you do well enough and then is on the outside looking in. It makes, I mean, it makes for a really compelling second half of the conference season.
Yeah. Well, you know, baseball is a funny game. We all know that. Like, you look at Wake Forest, number 2 team in the country. So they beat Elon 20-0 a few weeks ago. And then they lost to Elon maybe was it last week or the week before that? So the same team that they just boat raced beats them in a weekday game, you know, gives them their 4th loss of the season. So this game is so funny, but when you have the parity that we have in this conference, it's like predictions can't be made.
Yeah, no, they can't. Looking forward to a big one this coming weekend, Miami, North Carolina. From Miami's perspective, it's one of those where, okay, you got swept, you got to bounce back if you're that team, just in the same way that Virginia bounced back with their sweep of Miami, because they had lost the prior weekend 2 of 3 to Virginia Tech, who is bottom of the Coastal.
Right.
So yeah, no, that I'm intrigued to see Miami, North Carolina this weekend. I know we've got some other ones that are big, some fun midweeks happening. Jack Leggett, again, from Clemson, is joining us. They go to Athens to play Georgia tomorrow night as we're recording this, Tuesday night. You might be listening past that, but Louisville, Kentucky, a midweek this week.
And Kentucky's good. They're ranked.
Kentucky's a very, very good ranked team, so that should be a lot of fun. Just a lot to look forward to on the calendar, and we'll see. It's so hard to tell, man, how any of this figures out.
Yeah. I mean, we can make our predictions and guess who's going to be the better team, but they all prove us wrong every week.
It never fails.
No, I know. And, this weekend, Wake Forest and Louisville, that's going to be like the game of the century to these guys, because both of them are beating up on everybody.
Yeah. I mean, and again, potentially in some ways, a series of the year in the ACC, depending on how it's played. Every one of them is good at this point. Every series, every matchup, every game's going to mean something. So it'll be exciting to see. Yeah. Danny, I got a couple of individual shout outs before we get to Jack Leggett as our guest this week on ACC Baseball, etc. How about this? In the sweep of Miami, Virginia's Jake Geloff tied the career home run record for the Virginia program. E.J. Anderson now tied with Jake Geloff, 37 career home runs. And that's a program that, we were talking about some of the names before, right? I mean, Ryan Zimmerman came through there. They've had a lot
Brian Buchanan, first round pick. Yeah.
Yes. They've had a lot of great hitters, great home run hitters across the Cavaliers' history as a program. And Geloff is right there with Anderson, tied for the lead. Presumably he's going to get that mark all to himself by the time the season's up. That's a big accomplishment.
Pretty good chance, because he's got a very violent swing. So,
we know this. Yep.
Yeah. Violent but controlled. Like, he's not getting cheated is what I mean. So we're going to see at least one more from him, and he will have that record by himself. But gosh, it just feels like what is it? 37, you said?
37. Yeah.
It feels like he's hitting about 57 home runs, because every highlight of Virginia, it's him going deep.
Yeah. No, it's funny. It feels appropriate that he's tied to the career mark, but then you hear the number and you're like, man, I would have guessed he had more than that.
Yeah, totally. But that's really cool, though. That's so awesome.
Yeah, no, it's cool to be able to celebrate both team accomplishments and individual accomplishments. Again, it's the quality of players in this league, and the quality of players that have been around for multiple years. Speaking of which, we got a program category leader at Pitt. Sky Duff now is their career walks leader. And this one makes sense, right? It feels like he's been there a dozen years. It is his 5th year. He's a graduate student at Pitt. But he leads the Panthers all time in walks as well. So a shout out to Sky Duff, whom I saw at Duke last weekend. And just really have an appreciation for him. And Pitt's another one of those teams that's just like sneaky. They've got good players, Duff included. Man, it's what a good year for ACC baseball, for sure.
Yeah, and you look up the walks in the walks category. Well, Pitt has 3 other guys that are ahead of Sky Duff in walks
this season.
On the year.
Yeah,
this season.
They walk a lot. It's a very, very patient. I don't know what you want to attribute it to. Patient, good plate discipline.
Yeah.
A number of variables obviously goes into being good at drawing walks, but he's not even their best walks guy this year.
No, 3 other guys ahead of him. But he's got the record for
That's
now.
It. For now. That's a good point. For now.
Congratulations.
We'll see how long that lasts for Sky Duff. All ACC name team as well. Sky Duff.
Yeah,
sure.
all NCAA team name team. That's so awesome, that name.
Yeah. Maybe the biggest name we've had as a guest on ACC Baseball, etc. here, joining us. We'll go ahead and get to Jack Leggett, the longtime Clemson head coach. Really, if you're an ACC baseball fan, which you assumedly are if you listen to this show, he needs no introduction, but I'll do him a bit of one anyway. The longtime former Clemson baseball head coach, the legendary number 7, Jack Leggett, 6 College World Series appearances as the head Tiger in his time, and he's back on staff where this weekend at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, his number 7 is going to be retired. So that obviously being somewhat always a good reason to have you on, Coach, but that's we're going to call that our reason for having you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you, Daron and Danny, and look forward to talking with you and give you some insights or answer any questions you might have. And we'll talk about the weekend and talk about how the season's going.
Yeah, for sure. Big weekend for Clemson. Got 2 of 3 from Florida State when especially other ACC teams struggled to get 3 games in at all because of the weather. Let's start with your role with Clemson. I know obviously Eric Bakich, who was a volunteer assistant under you, right? At one point when you were there at Clemson, hired in his first year as the head coach of the Tigers. It was great to see you when I had a series, you guys and Duke there, and you joked with me then that, well, yeah, the NCAA would get on me if they saw me do certain things. So it's a little bit more limited of a role. Would you describe what your role is now? What's different? What's new, but what's the same?
Well, the title is program development. I'm helping the coaches, mentoring the coaches and the players. I can speak to the team. Obviously, it can be at practice, be at games. Evaluate those types of things, give them my insights or experience to help them in any way. I just can't literally, go out to shortstop, do my thing, or hit fungos or throw BP, that kind of thing. So it's like putting a stallion who's been in the, he's been uptight all winter long. He's in an 8x8 stall. He's kicking the side walls, but that's what it feels like to me because I love the coaching part. I love being on the field. Kid asked me a question, I can answer it and talk to him a little bit, but my work is basically done in the dugout, in the classroom, in the meeting areas, just outside the line, inside the lines, outside the lines. And so that's the tough part for me, but it's also, I feel like I'm filling a valuable role for the team and for the coaches and for the players. And they gravitate to you. They want to hear what you have to say. I think they value my experience, value my insights to helping them any way that I can. It's just a little frustrating for me, but at the same time, it keeps me at the field. It keeps me with the team. It keeps me with the coaches. It keeps me in tune to everything that's going on and keeps me young, keeps me with in tune with the players. And, a couple years ago, I coached the USA national team. We went to Panama and South Korea and Taiwan and so forth. And there were 18-year-old kids, Bobby Witt Jr., Corbin Carroll, C.J. Abrams, Riley Green. Guys who are playing in the big leagues right now that are 21 years old. And, I was able to relate with them, have a great experience with those guys. And so even though I'm a little bit more experienced, I feel like I'm 30 years old. That's my problem. That's my issue.
Well, hey, whatever keeps you feeling young, right, Coach? Right, exactly. So you mentioned that the players will come and pick your brain occasionally, or maybe often daily. Right. Do the younger players know your pedigree? Do they know exactly what you've done for college baseball, not just Clemson, for all of college baseball? And are they intimidated at all?
No, I think they feel very comfortable with me. I got a chance to really talk to them. We do like a 7-on-7, before the game, go down the right field line, talk to them, give them an insight, give them a new story, give them a new theme for the day or whatever it might be. And Eric's done a really good job. It's very difficult for a coach coming in. We had such a good relationship because we were together in 2002 with Tim Corbin and Sully, with that team that we had with Khalil Green and Jeff Baker and Michael Johnson and so forth. And went to the World Series and had a really good team. And he was with us as an assistant coach, as our volunteer coach, recommended by Keith LeClaire, who played for me and went to East Carolina. He coached at Western, then went to East Carolina, died of ALS. And one of Keith's last things he told me, he said, "You got to take Eric Backage as your volunteer." And I couldn't say no to him, and I didn't know Eric at all. And it proved to be a really good, there was lots of testosterone in one office with me, Sully, and Corbs and Eric. But we had a really good chemistry. We all still are very good friends. We rely on each other. We keep in touch with each other, and we have mutual respect and everything. So that's how I got started with Eric. And so when he got this job, I was very excited about it. I was, the athletic director had brought me into the fold a little bit and made me feel welcome and valued and relevant again. And that was really good. And that was Graham Neff. And when they hired Eric, I thought it was a very good move. It is a very good move. It's going to be a really good thing for Clemson baseball. And at the same time, he made a special effort because if you have an ego involved or you're not very confident in what you're doing, it's tough to bring in a coach who's been there a while and kind of knows what's going on. And so this has been I've given Eric many, many opportunities to go, "Eric, I don't need to be around. I don't need to be hovering over your back. I don't need to be in the shadow. I don't need to be." He goes, "No, coach, when I take this job, I want you right next to me in the dugout. And I want you at every home game. You can go to every away game if you can." I've kind of put a limit on just being at the home games, although I'm going Tuesday to Athens for the Georgia game, but because it's close. But so and then I'll go postseason. If they make the ACC tournament and the tournament beyond that, then yes. But it's been a really good thing because he's let the players know they've had. He does a really good thing with historical Clemson players. They've called Billy Cotts, they've called Chris Benson, Shane Monahan, all the outstanding players of the past. They've called them all, and they've done presentations on each one of these kids and PowerPoints in front of the team, and introduce who these guys are, and myself and Eric's done a really good job, so they know who I am and what's happened in the past and all that kind of thing. And they have an appreciation, which I don't know if they did the last 7 years, maybe. They have an appreciation for the tradition, for the history, for what Clemson baseball is all about. And so that's made me feel welcome. I think the players know exactly, what my background is. So it's a good question, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Well, the next step in that is what I alluded to, Coach. This Saturday, your number 7 is going to be retired there at Clemson. So an honor I'm sure you appreciate and are grateful for. When did you find out that was going to be the case this season, and what exactly does it mean to you?
Well, first of all, it means a great deal to me. It's something the last 7 years I really didn't feel excited about coming back, didn't come back very often. And when I did, if I did and drove by, what I had a pit in my stomach, it just wasn't, it just didn't feel right because it didn't end right. And not the way I thought it should have or felt like it deserved. But at the same time, I now feel extremely welcome. I feel really good about walking into the facility. I feel good about seeing the players and the coaches, and I think they're all excited to see me every time. And so this is nice. Nobody's worn 7 since I've left. Nobody's worn Coach Wilhelm's number 38. Nobody's worn 34, Chris Benson's number, 28, Seth Beer's number, or 14, Khalil Green's number. They've had respect not to wear those numbers, but for them to take it a step further, I guess, and to retire it. And I don't know if they're putting something up on the fence, the outfield fence, which has always been bothered me a little bit because of how many good teams we had, and it really was a representation that there wasn't anything on the fence that showed that we were really there for the last 22 years, And so in respect for them, I think this is great because I've had so many good players and so many good coaches that have been with me over time, and the fans and everybody's treated me really good always. And it was just, it just was a tough situation for a little while there. But the people I know and the people I worked with and the people that are the fans that really know the value that the program had for a long period of time, they've been great. So excited about being back. I've got my kids coming in. My son lives in Atlanta, daughter lives in Denver, and they're coming back. And so my family will be there. And I think a lot of my players and, obviously the players at Clemson who have become very close to, and the coaches there. And so it's been something very nice, and I'm excited about it, and hopefully have a good day. Well, so we need to cap it off with a W, though.
Yeah.
Yes. Any fun without a win.
Doesn't matter what's happening, right? A win is a win.
Not to me, anyway.
Yeah.
My DNA is all about scoring one more run than the other guy at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, hey, speaking of runs, I was going to go somewhere else, but you're talking about runs. I was reading somewhere where it said that you told the team that you needed to score 3 runs, maybe the next inning, and they scored 4, and then you apologized for getting it wrong. Can you tell us that story, please?
Well, we had a couple of instances early in the season. I think the one was against Binghamton, and we were struggling a little bit. We weren't hitting it that well, and I go down the line. I go down the line in front of the players. I go, fellas, just going to tell you we're going to get 3 runs right now. Sure enough, we got 3 runs. We end up winning the ball game. And then another game, maybe a week later, I go down, fellas, we're going to get 3 more today. We need 3 runs this inning. We're going to get them. And sure enough, we got 4. And so after the inning was over, I went down, hey, fellas, I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. Told you 3, we got 4. And I laughed. So, I just have a good time with them. I kind of see things happening on the field because of the number of games that I've been involved in and years that I've coached. I can kind of see things that are going to happen as the game is taking place. And, I'll say something to somebody, go, hey, we're going to score some runs right here, because I can feel just a little bit of energy, feel a little at-bat that was coming, or I don't know. There's just a sixth sense that you have if you've been around it a long time. And I've still got that. I still seem to have it. Maybe it's always wishful thinking that we need a few runs right here, or whatever it might be. But at the same time, I think you can kind of see how the game is starting to unfold, maybe a little bit ahead of everybody else because you've seen so many games before.
Well, I think it also teaches a little bit of a positive attitude about yourself, and hopefully the players see that.
Yeah. Oh, they know I'm positive. They know I've got energy. They know that I bring I think a good vibe to the field every day. And I mean, there's nothing like putting a uniform on. I can't put a jersey on, but I can put the pants on and, whatever on top and windbreak or whatever. But it's just something that I've always cherished and I've always felt good about, and keeps you young. And I don't know, there's nothing like putting on a baseball pair of pants and going to battle, going to war, and not knowing what's going to happen that day. And it's not like, going to the bank and you're working from 8 to 5 and you pretty much know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. And it can unfold in a lot of different ways. And every game's a little bit different. And that's what makes it exciting and keeps it interesting for you every day.
Well, what is it like, the dynamic with you and Eric? You two have obviously known each other for a long time. You have been very deferential in this role, but say your spidey senses start tingling in the middle of a game, right? And you can sense maybe that something's not right, or somebody's due for a big knock or something. How has that gone this year? Maybe you give Eric a nudge and be like, take it for what it is. I got a feeling.
Right. Well, we talked during the course of the game, and we have such a good relationship that there's no, I don't feel like I'm stepping on his toes, or he's not, bowing down to somebody who's coached longer or whatever. There's none of that. It's just really good. And we have a good sense of humor, and, things aren't going good in the game. We have we start laughing a little bit inside and go, yeah, it's like having a root canal and laser surgery on a, without anesthesia. This is how the game is unfolding. It's painful. We're just not getting the big hit, not making the big pitch, whatever it might be. So we have this relationship where we can say anything to each other at any time. And if there's something that I see during the course of the game, we talk about it. And every once in a while he confides and has great, relationship and respect for his pitching coach, Jimmy Bellinger, and for Nick Schnabel and Griff Mazer, who played for him. And so they talk a lot. And if I will interject something when, I think it's necessary, or when they feel like they want it, I don't step out of my bounds and try to tell them what to do, because they know what they're doing. And it's just a matter of helping when I can.
I got to bring up something. Daron says that baseball players have this uncanny memory. Like it's, we all remember things. And
right.
This was a long time ago. We came to Clemson, 1994. My junior year, your first year. You may or may not remember this, but I feel like I remember this like it was yesterday. So Clemson gave me my only loss of the season that year. In an extra inning game, they walked us off and walked me off. But prior to the walk-off, we had kind of almost a bench clearing argument. One of the players, Shane Monahan, was like smoking me like he did the whole country. Like he hit everybody. So he lines out and then he screamed something at me. I don't remember what he screamed. The next batter is Mike Hampton, who's now the St. John's head coach.
Right.
He might've been the biggest guy on your team at that time too.
Right.
So I was instructed to hit him. So I hit him. Well, long story short, that got all settled. Well, coach, I saw you after the game and you came up to me and you asked me if I did it on purpose, and I have to come clean. I'm a much mature man now. I have to come clean. And I said, no, I didn't. And I lied. So my conscience is getting me right now, because like, this might be why I was intimidated today before we got you on here. Like I was thinking, how am I going to tell coach that I'm sorry that I lied to him? Because I feel so bad that I did that, but I was a 20-year-old kid, and I didn't know what to say to you. So I said, no, I didn't hit him on purpose, but I did. So.
I accept your apology 30 years later. No problem.
And it's funny. I saw Mike a few years back doing one of St. John's games, and he said he knew it was coming. He knew that he was going to get hit. So I felt a little bit better.
Shane had a way of doing that to some of his teammates once in a while. Shane, please be quiet, because I'm going to take your wrath.
That's kind of what Mike was telling me.
Yeah.
He said he knew it's happened before, and I was just glad, because Daron, I don't know if you know who Mike Hampton is, but he's a giant.
Mm-hmm.
and like very, very intimidating, big, strong dude, but was the nicest guy. And we actually got drafted back to back that same year.
That's right. Mike is a great friend and a great guy. Had a great year for us. He actually stole 39 bases that year, if you can believe it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's a little bigger than that right now. I don't think he could steal it right now, but he was a really good player for us, an All-American, and he hit a home run, grand slam home. We were 1-2 in the nation with Georgia Tech, at Georgia Tech. They had Veritek and Nomar and that kind of thing. And so they had a good ball club. And he hit a grand slam home run over the B there in left field. And he also had 39 stolen bases. And I think 35 or 6 of them were delayed steals, because he just had really good timing, really had good instincts. And I tell him every time I go, nobody delays steals as much as they used to, but he really had a knack for it and really knew when to use it. But really good guy. So I'm sure he's forgiven you, Danny.
He did.
And I have too, so it's no problem.
Thank you. But I promise I'll never lie to you again, Coach.
And I don't remember asking you that. I don't remember asking. It doesn't ring home with me, but
glad we could help Danny exercise demons.
Because I know Shane very well, and he's a really good friend of mine. I can visualize this all happening.
Yeah.
How it happened. But we had some great battles with you guys. We had some great games, mutual respect back and forth, very competitive. We both had Omaha type teams during that era, and we all had good players and good coaches and so forth. So they were all good battles, and we were very competitive. We had some with him, David Miller, Scott Winchester probably played with you.
Yeah, we got traded together.
Yeah, he was with Cincinnati. Then you had Mike Holtz was on that team, another big leaguer, left-handed pitcher. You mentioned Mike Hampton. David Miller was a first-round pick. Seth Bryzik. I mean, we had some good players. We had some really competitive kids, and you guys did too. So it was all good stuff. No problems. No ill will.
Yeah.
Part of the game.
My point remains regarding the encyclopedic memories, though. Do you hear yourselves just rattling off people and circumstances?
There's a compartment in there,
that
nobody else has except the baseball coach and the baseball player.
Yeah,
and they can remember scores. They can remember painful moments. There's a compartment of painful moments in there and good moments, and you can't remember sometimes what you did yesterday, but you can remember what you did 20 years ago, what the score was, and who got the big hit, and all those kinds of things. For some reason, I think it's because we're also passionate about what we do that because we think about it so much, and we're invested so much in it that it gets ingrained in your brain a little bit further than some of the other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I threw 5 innings that game. I do remember that. And it was a getaway day. And Coach, if you talk to Shane soon, ask him about it. I bet he remembers too.
Right.
And tell him I'm sorry.
Oh, he knows. he'll want to fight you. No problem. Shane.
Yeah. We're nearing 50 and he wants to fight.
He'll laugh about it. He'll know about it.
Yeah.
There's another story that there was a kid, the game was Carmine or something. It was Miami kid. He came in and maybe 99 or something. And we might have been later than that. Might have been in 2000s. And he came in with a 21 pitching win streak. And he was 12-0. And he came in, and I'll never forget this because I'm competitive too. But he walked down the left field line. Miami came in the left field line, and he had headphones on. He was bouncing, and he was feeling really good about himself. And I said, we are going to kick his rear end today. I can just feel it. And sure enough, he had shut us out for 4 innings. And I'm thinking, boy, maybe I wasn't quite right. And the next thing you know, we put up a 12 spot on him. And they left him out there. He was responsible for all 12. They left him out there for all 12. And next thing I know, he's walking by me on the third base, to the third base dugout right by me. And I'm going, wow, things just changed really quickly.
I could see Coach Morris leaving him out there because he might have needed to be humbled a little bit.
Yeah. It just somehow it happened. We had a good team, and bang, 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 bang. It might have got 7 quick or something. And then somebody might have hit he got to 8, but he wasn't pitching that bad. But then next thing I know, 4 spot, whatever it was, 12 runs were, and he might have gone out with the bases loaded or something, and somebody else let up 3. They were all 12 were.
That'll hurt the ERA for a little bit.
He probably had a good one coming in, so it probably didn't hurt it so bad. But that was the story I told the players the other day because we were talking about never giving up. And we were facing some good pitching against Wake Forest. They got 3 good starters.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what we're facing, but this is what I've seen before. This is what there's another game. We played Chuck Crowder, who was a left-handed pitcher for Georgia Tech. And he had a perfect game for 3 innings. We hadn't touched him. So for the 9 outs, I think 7 of them were strikeouts. We had hardly put a ball in play. It was dominant. And the next thing I know, we score 16 runs in the inning.
Oh,
and he's responsible for the first 9.
Oh, so my God.
He walks by me after being perfect for 3 innings. And I'm going, this is going to be tough today. And next thing I know, he's going by me. He's giving up 7. There's 2 on base. We get 2 more. So he's responsible for 9. We get 16 runs in the inning. And so these are two stories that I told the team the other day because I wanted them to understand that even if you face some hardship early in the game, you got to keep your head in the game and keep on battling. And it could be that one walk or hit by pitch, or a guy drills one in the gap. Everybody starts to feel comfortable and more confident. And this is how the games can unfold. And they don't see these things as much as I've seen them in my time.
Right.
And so those are some of the things that I give them before the game to hopefully bring out confidence, make them believe, make them laugh, whatever it might be, to get them to a point where they feel more confident going into the game.
Yeah.
There's that little memory.
I was going to say, before we let you get to this week and then ultimately this weekend, where we're going to add another one of the positive memories to that side of the brain. I just want you to speak about Erik Bakich and the direction of Clemson baseball. This is, again, if you tune into this show, assumedly you like and appreciate ACC baseball. To me, this is me editorializing. The league is better when Clemson is not just relevant, but good and toward the top of the league. I came back from my trip to Clemson to calling that series against Duke. Just really impressed with Erik. You actually introduced me when I was there. I'd never met him before. I came back very much a believer, and I like the crew that is there, albeit young, and I think there's a lot to grow on that's there already. And Erik even mentioned to me that weekend, he said, look, I look at this roster and see what the kids can do, and I don't think there's any reason we're not a tournament team this year, much less next year, the year following. From your perspective, because I mean, you might have, in terms of determining what is being instilled in Clemson baseball right now, you might have the best seat in the house right next to Erik. What's your takeaway in terms of what is changing and what's being inserted culturally?
Well, there's a huge improvement in my mind about the culture, accountability, just the way they look, just the way they carry themselves when they travel, just the way they dress, just the way it's more crisp. It's more like Clemson baseball for the 56 years between Coach Wilhelm and myself. I think it got a little loose. I think it got a little lack of discipline. I think it got a little, sloppy maybe in some ways. And when that happens, the formula equals losing or not being as successful as you possibly can be. And so I think he's tightened that up really good. And so there's a lot more accountability, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be how they carry themselves or discipline and all that type of thing. And their performance on the field during practice, certain things are just not acceptable, not executing, not getting this down, not doing this, not making. So there's a really good change that way. Erik is extremely smart. He's very well spoken. He says exactly what's on his mind. He's got a really good sense of humor, which goes a long way. He can relate to the players. He's in shape. He takes care of himself. I mean, there's a lot of things that the players, I guess when I was that age, they can relate to because, he's not asking them to do anything that he's not willing to do himself. And that was one thing I always took to the bank. I said, I'm going to ask you to do this. I'm going to ask you to work hard. I'm going to ask you to compete. I'm going to ask you to be tougher than everybody else that we play. I'm going to ask you to work harder, but I'm willing to do the same thing. And the minute you see something different than that, you call me out on it. And so I was always, in line that way. And I think Erik is that way too, and his coaches are. So that part, I think, is really good. He's got a really good way of communicating with him, talking to him every day in the classroom. He's very organized. The practices are competitive. They're not just rolling out a ball and go, hey, let's take batting practice. It's there's structure to it. There's something going on during that practice to help them get better and to play at the pace of the game. So those things are really good. He just treats people well. He's got such a good sense of humor, but at the same time, a really good personality where you introduce him to somebody, next thing you know, they feel comfortable around him. So that's a real positive. I think the players have respond to that very well. The players, and talking about our team, there's a lot of good qualities to what this team is capable of doing. They're 4-8 in the ACC, but 4 of the games, well, you saw 1 or 2 of them at Duke, with Duke, 2 of them with Wake, 1-run games, a 6-5, a 4-3 game. I mean, a game down at Georgia Tech, have 1 strike away from winning the game, and with 2 outs, 1 strike away, and next thing you know, lose the game. So the relief pitching at the end of the game was not settled. They had a little trouble, needed Danny Graves to come in, and it would be 10-2 right now. And so that was but the relief pitching has gotten better now. Kid named Nick Clayton has stepped up. Trisha Smith's been put in that role, which he's done a pretty good job with. Nick Hoffman's done a better job that way. The starting pitching, I mean, we're 4-8 in the conference, 19-14 or 13-9, whatever it is. And the number 1 pitcher hasn't won a game yet. The Friday night guy, Austin Gordon, hasn't got a win. Tristan Smith, who was one of the starters and somebody who's going to be really good, hasn't had a win. Billy Barlow, who pitched a lot of games for him last year, has been injured back and forth, hasn't got a win yet. So it's been, luckily Caden Grice has stepped up and worked into a starting role for them and for us and done a really good job. And so he's kind of picked up. So when you look at that, you think, gosh, we're piecing together 19 wins. We've got 14 losses, but it could really be a lot different with it just a little bit better. Also, the other thing that I don't think they've done exceptionally well yet is get the big hit with men on base. And when that happens, there's instances in all these games where, 1 more hit, bases loaded, nobody out, and you get 1 run, you need 3. You need to get 3 or 4. You need to get something. Or a man on second and third, 1 out. You got to hit a ground ball. You got to get the guy in. You've got to get a run. It's a free RBI with infield back. So those are the things, that are emphasized all the time, but they're just things that have got to be done better if you want to be that elite team. And so I think, they're talked about, they're emphasized, kids understand what they have to do. It's just a matter of being able to execute it and being really, really bearing down tough enough to be able to get it done. So there's some good experience on the team, but the experience hasn't been, they're older kids, but the experience hasn't been to a regional, hasn't been to a regional for 2 years, hadn't been to a super regional at all, and hadn't been to Omaha. So that mindset needs to change. It needs to get better. It needs to win 1-run games. I told them early in the year when I was talking to the team, I said, I think back in 95 or 94, maybe it was 94, we won 13 1-run ball games, which totally changes, so we were 54-17 or whatever it was, because we went to Hawaii that year and played more games. So whatever it was, you take away 13 of those, or even half.
Yeah.
Now you're 47-25. It's a totally different turnaround of the season. And that's where they are right now. Those 1-run games are really hurting them where they are in the ACC. We still have our goals in front of us. We still play Louisville, North Carolina, Boston College, Virginia Tech. We still have 6, Notre Dame, really 6 strong conference series left, Virginia, that you can make your mark. And so you don't have to rely on everybody else. You just have to win 2 out of 3 and sweep 1 or 2 of those. Can't go 0-3 with anybody. You can't, 1 and 2, a couple 1 and 2s are going to hurt you. So you got to start winning conference weekends. And I think we're getting in a better spot. We lost Ryan Ammons at the beginning of the year, our number 1 guy, Friday night guy. He's probably more suited to be a closer. So when he comes back from his arm, he'll probably be in a shorter spot and help that. He's very competitive. He was really good in that role last year. Started out as a starter. So it's been Billy Barlow has been hurt, as I mentioned before. And so there's been a lot of guys that have been dinged up so far. And I'm really trying to find a right fielder that fits in there, that can make his mark every day in the game. And left fielder, Will Taylor's playing better. Cam Canarella is playing unbelievable as an outfielder and as a left-handed hitter. Got to get a little more out of Ben Blackwell. And as a shortstop, plays really good defense. Got to get a little more offense there. Riley Bertram's had a good year. Blake Wright's starting to come on now over at third base. Caden's swing the bat better. And Cooper Ingle is just a tough out, slaps that ball around in all different places. And so Billy Amick's coming on a little bit as a DH. So they're piecing it together a little bit better, getting a little more confidence, I think, coming off this weekend. So I see good things ahead, and we just got to put on a good second half and do our thing. And I think certainly capable of, but just got to get that confidence rolling and start to get in that groove. And I told him a while back, I said, we're going to win 11 games in a row. And you're going to win 11 games in a row. But we won 6 or 7 in a row, and we dropped, maybe it was at Duke. I think we dropped 3 to Duke. And then we came back and won 2 midweek games. So we had them believing they're going to win 11 in a row. And so it's a mind game,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's as much mental as it is physical, because you cannot, if you don't believe, you won't achieve.
Right.
And if you don't see something happen, and he's going to throw his slider, he's got to know where that slider is going and have complete confidence in that pitch. If there's any trepidation or any holding back or I hope it goes there, it's going to end up over the middle of the plate, and it's going to end up somewhere you don't want it.
Those cement mixers.
Yeah. And it's hitting cement somewhere. Yeah. So you have to believe in everything that you're doing and get that. And in order to do that, you have to have confidence, and you have to have experienced confidence. And so I have that experienced confidence because I've seen it, and I've seen teams struggle and come back and really finish strong and all that kind of thing. So I just hope that they can get on a roll, and we can get on a roll, and we can start playing really good baseball, and everybody get healthy at the same time, and win some close games. And I think that'll send them off where they need to be. And to tell you this, you can talk as much as you want about rundowns and fundamentals and hitting behind the run, doing all this stuff. You can talk anything you want, but the most valuable lesson any team learns is that you're never out of the fight, that you could always come back and win. And so when you come back and win a game with a walk-off home run or a walk-off base hit, or, a 1-2-3 8th and a 1-2-3 9th, and you just put the nail in the coffin. If you can learn that lesson and believe in that lesson, then your season takes off to another place. And that's hopefully this past weekend will give them that kind of confidence.
Yeah. I love it. I'm hearing you're in your mind, Coach. You're going back. But you're also, what I love, and this is the perfect cap to our conversation. What I love about this is I can sense you're sort of battling. You're going back and forth between calling the team they and we. You're back on staff at Clemson. It just feels right?
Right.
For me and Danny, that appears when we're doing a game as bias. We can't really get away with that. You're all clear. Say we. Yeah. Say we when you're talking Clemson.
It's a we because I'm invested. When I don't travel with them, it's kind of like a they because I'm not right there.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, in my mind, it's a we because I just feel very connected to the staff, very connected to the players, very, very, very connected to the program now and the people. And it's just so awesome to walk into that dugout, look at that beautiful field, hear the music, sun's out, you got a competitive game going on. There's people over there that are, hey, coach, and they want you to sign something for them, or, can I take a picture with you, or whatever it might be. There's nothing greater than that. This in my life, in my baseball life, there's nothing that's been greater than to have people appreciate what you do, come cheer for your team, and hang with you thick or thin, and that's tough for people to do sometimes because everybody wants instant results. But I think they understand the program's in good hands, and I understand it. I see it. I wouldn't tell you if I didn't feel it, because I'd avoid it and make some kind of answer up or whatever. But I really believe in Eric, and I believe in his staff, and I believe in these kids, and I believe in the program and where it's headed. And I'm just glad to be excited about being around again, or being at the ballpark. And so we'll see where it goes. And are you guys doing the game Friday night?
No, we're not going to be there. I've got somewhere else in the ACC. I'd have to look. It's wild.
I'll be up in studio, so we'll be covering your game.
Okay.
Probably not till it's over. And I don't think we're doing any cut-ins because the show is late, but we'll be in the studio, and I'm going to be bragging that I got to talk to you too. So one more thing I needed to ask you, Coach. You were talking about how Eric is in really good shape. Well, I always thought you were like the most jacked college baseball coach, especially when I was playing, and you probably were for the rest of your time there at Clemson. But what I did not know, I did some research on you last night. You also played football at University of Maine, right? And I just need to know if you still have the record for the longest field goal.
And it's 52 yards.
Yeah.
And it's been tied by a guy about 3 years ago. He kicked a 52-yard. It's hung in there since 1975, I guess.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome.
47 years or whatever that is. And so it's still hanging in there. And but I like to be. So I called the kid up. The coach called me. He goes, "Coach, I just want you to know somebody tied your record today, and we won the game 16-13 or whatever it was." I go, "Awesome, give me his number." So I called the kid at the hotel. They were at an away game somewhere. And I just told him, I said, "Hey, that's awesome. Congratulations. I just want you to know mine was 52.5 against the blizzard, uphill into the wind." He started laughing. I go, so
with a softer ball, probably.
Whatever. Yeah. So, still hanging in there, but I want to be known not as I played every down, was the captain of the football team, captain of the defense, and it was a 52 monster defense. I was the monster man. So I was a rover back. So I was always in the middle of the action, making tackles and hitting somebody or doing something. But I also, as a sidelight, just was a soccer style kicker and could kick. And so anyway, that's what I did. Played football and baseball all 4 years. Went to Omaha in 1976 as a player. And so I've been there as a player and a coach. And so that's back in the old day, back in 76, when we went to the College World Series, we got picked up at the Red Lion Hotel in a yellow school bus to go to the field, and Rosenblatt. And so times have changed. Things are a little bit different. Yeah. But I always enjoyed the trips to Rosenblatt. Always, another story about Miami, Danny. We played you guys in 96. You weren't there, but in 96 we played Miami. And if you asked me, and they had, the Braun, right-handed hitter.
Pat Burrell?
Pat Burrell, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Pat Burrell. It wasn't Braun. He was later, right? I played.
Yeah, Ryan Braun came a little bit. I think he's older.
Yeah, Pat Burrell,
younger. Pat's older. Right.
Yeah. So Pat came up, but anyway, so Benson's pitching, and we hit. We struck out that game. We struck out 19 Miami batters. That's how screwed up this game is. We struck out 19 batters, Miami, and lost 7-3.
Oh my
gosh. And
yes.
And this is the game where we had Gary Berner was my left fielder, really good player, played 13 years in the minor league, played major leagues in Japan for a year. But this is the year where we had guys on first and second base. Miami had a guy hits one down the left field line, right over the bag, ground ball, boom, right over the bag, right into the corner, left field corner. Gary goes down there, and he's been playing with the crowd, throwing balls up in there between innings and things like that. And ball goes down the corner. For some reason, he thinks it's foul, picks the ball up and throws it in the stands.
Oh, no.
So the guy at first, second scores, obviously the guy at third scores, the first scores, and the guy who hit it was around second base, so he scored. So 3 runs came in on that when it should have been 2. But anyway, we lost 7-3.
Oh, man.
And I will never forget, Gary came in to the dugout. It was on ESPN. It was a bloopers or whatever. It was, everybody's trying to vote it as the greatest play of the year or something. But he came in the dugout, and I'll never forget. He went right this one time that I never said a word to him. And what are you going to say? He was embarrassed. It was, we picked it up, threw it right in the stands. And I think as soon as he threw it in the stands, he looked back. And I said to Corbs, I said, Tim, did he just throw that ball up in the stands? And he goes, I can't tell you what he said to me, but he said he did threw that ball up in the stands. I go, really? So anyway, that was one of my Miami memories from 1996. Benson struck out 16, I think, and then another kid came in, struck out 3, struck out 19 guys. And we struck out 18 guys against Central Florida and lost the game. I mean, that's how screwed up the game can be if you give up a long ball here and there, a big hit with men on base. And so anyway, that's one of my Miami stories. There you go.
Amazing.
I could listen to these stories all day. We do have a window that we're trying to get this in, but Jack, really, really, really do appreciate the time. It's always a pleasure to talk. It was great to see you when I was at Clemson. I'm so glad, and I think I speak for Danny as well, that Clemson to you is a we again. It just feels right. I know it means a lot to you. So looking forward to seeing your number on the wall out there at Doug Kingsmore Stadium here in the near future.
I appreciate it, Daron. And Danny, it's good catching up with you. Great career.
Thank you.
Follows you. Gosh, anytime did you get a full 10 years in?
I did 11. I got 11. Yeah.
And it's very difficult for anybody to get a player. Shane Monahan, he gets a couple of years in. Benson just made it 10 years. It's difficult to get 10 years in.
Yeah.
And to stay injury free, although I know the College World Series 94, you tore your ACL. Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
And it was difficult to get. It's difficult to get that amount of good time in the big leagues because it's so competitive. So congratulations on that. And I always enjoyed competing against you. And I don't mind you, plunking one of our guys 30 years later. We're okay with that. We'll thank Shane again for that one. And
please do.
It's great catching up with you.
Yeah, great catching up. Thank you for your forgiveness too. And I got to say, man, not just Clemson, but college baseball is better with you in it, Coach. So
I appreciate it.
Congratulations for this weekend, and hope to see you at the ACC tournament. So,
well, I hope so too. And had a lot of good feedback from a lot of coaches around the country, and a lot of people, a lot of my players are just excited about me being back involved, and I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about what Eric's going to do for Clemson baseball, and everybody be a little bit patient, and they'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, we're glad you're back, and at least in the pants, not the full uniform. Glad you're in the pants and a pullover, Coach. Thanks again for the time. Really do appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff from Jack Leggett. Just so appreciative of his time, his willingness to talk for a while. He did. He can get on some tangents, and I appreciate that he wants to tell stories in this. You're right. You get him in this mode, in this setting, and he was dying to recall some things that he hadn't thought about in a while and tell some stories. So it was fun to hear you two hash out some history as well. Glad you got to exercise some demons.
Dude, I'm telling you, I really felt weird about it. So I had to do it. And I knew he would be okay with it. I knew you would be okay with it too. So
some weight off of your shoulders. You're free now. 30 years later, you're free, Danny.
I'm cleansed of my demons. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's close it out as we always do. It's called Hall of Name. This is the part of the show where we let Danny, the closer, close every show by giving a small look into his experiences as a college and professional pitcher. Here's how it goes. I pick a former teammate of Danny's, and we're going to do a double edition of Hall of Name today. So I've got 2 names in mind. I pick a former teammate, and he has to tell us the first story, interaction, anecdote, awkward conversation, whatever that comes to mind. Hall of Name. And this, by the way, to clarify, can be a teammate from anywhere. I've got a list that I pull up, and this is collegiate national team with Team USA. This is as a collegian with the Miami Hurricanes, Cleveland, Cincinnati, the Mets. Really, at any point in Danny's career, I could name someone that he was a teammate of. So, Danny, you ready to go? I've got, again, 2 names.
Yeah. I'm actually nervous about this one for some reason. I don't know why.
I can't believe I haven't asked you about this one yet. This was one of the very first names that I wrote down when I started to conceptualize how we were going to do this. You came up with Cleveland. At the big league level, you were there about 1.5 years, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So as a pitcher, this one fascinates me. Oral Hershiser was toward the end of his playing days at that point, and was a member of those Cleveland, then the Indians. Hall of Name me, Oral Hershiser.
That's a good name right there. I actually thought you were going with a different name. I won't say it because you might want to use it later.
Yeah. I will. I will undoubtedly use it later.
Oral Hershiser. So he was awesome, but he was an awesome teammate. He was just much better dude than he was a pitcher. Like, and a lot of people,
he was a really good pitcher.
Yeah, he was a really good pitcher. And even the days, like his days that he was, getting a little bit older, he was still the bulldog. That's what they tabbed him for years. And he was always that postseason guy, that was just dominating. I don't think I've ever been around a pitcher who could manipulate the baseball the way he did, like making it cut, making it sink, changing speeds. Obviously, this is stuff he had to do to be successful because he wasn't a flamethrower. But he was able to do all these things. And like, just to be able to watch him do that, like watch him with my own eyes after seeing him when he was with the Dodgers have that streak of consecutive scoreless innings. I was a kid watching that, but then now I'm playing with him. I'm on the same team with them. It's pretty amazing. But the biggest thing that stands out for me with Oral, 1996, we're in the playoffs, and first round of the playoffs against Baltimore. And I made the playoff roster. I got called up a couple different times that year. I ended up making the playoff roster, so I got a chance to pitch. I didn't get a chance to pitch, but I had an opportunity. Like if the time came, like I was going to pitch, but I didn't get to.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
got it.
Yeah. So, but we were down, I think 2-1. David Wells was pitching for Baltimore. I don't remember who was pitching for us that day, but anyways, he's walking around the clubhouse saying, "All right, guys, my postseason record. Like, let me have a chance to pitch tomorrow. Like, just give me an opportunity. Give me a chance." Like, no, so nonchalantly. And I'm like, the Bulldog said he wants to pitch tomorrow, so we better win today. We have to win today. Unfortunately, David Wells shoved it against us, so we didn't get to see him pitch. But like, for him to walk around saying that, I'm like, man, this is like a real major leaguer, like confident in his abilities and his postseason abilities. Because to me, I didn't realize postseason, like some people are great in postseason, some people aren't. I just thought you pitch, whatever it is. But Oral Hershiser was known as the guy that comes up clutch in postseason. So I'm like, gosh, this would be so awesome. We have to win. But we didn't get a chance. Didn't get a chance to see the Bulldog.
I'm really interested in the dynamic between your and his experience at that point in your career. Like, with a chance to maybe pitch in the postseason. What did you think about that opportunity at that time? Like, did it mean anything other than sort of on the surface, okay, we're in the postseason? Because you see this in other sports and even in Major League Baseball, just to some degree, somebody who's very young, or a team generally that's very young, they make it and they go far maybe. And I think as fans, for sure, you just have this tendency to assume, oh, they'll be back. They'll be back. But it's very possible, right? You go to this playoff series, have a chance to pitch, don't get that opportunity, and then never make a postseason again, right? I can't imagine that was something that crossed your mind at that point in your career, right? There's the assumption there underlying that I'm going to be back. that did not exist with Oral at that point.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, Oral ended up pitching a few more years, obviously, and he made the playoffs. He was on that Mets team that beat us in '99.
Yeah.
So, you know, they go to the playoffs. But, yeah, at that time, I warmed up for one of the games, and then Albert Bell hits a 3-run homer. So now we're only trailing by 1. They say, sit down, get him down. Like I was just supposed to eat up the innings till, you know, save some arms.
Yeah.
He hits a 3-run jack. They tell me sit down. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll get to pitch another time. And we ended up losing the series. Playoffs over. Now, it's funny that you mentioned that because Oral kind of on his way out. He's had a lot of playoff experience. Well, everywhere I've been, we won. You know, in high school, we went to the state championship. We ended up losing that. But Miami would go to College World Series 2 out of 3 years. My first year of pro ball in '95, I make it all the way to AAA. But the single A team, we won the championship. So I got a ring. At '96, my second year, I'm in the big leagues. I'm like, man, and we're on obviously one of the best teams in all of baseball. Cleveland was stacked. I'm like, this is going to be great. It's going to be awesome to go to the playoffs every single year. So obviously don't get to pitch in that year. The next year, '97, we have a really good team again, like a World Series bound team. Cleveland ends up going to the World Series. Well, I got traded in July to the Reds. Guess what? I never made it back to the playoffs ever the rest of my career. So, I mean, that's funny that you say that. Like, that's exactly how it was. And I never thought, well, I'll never have another chance to pitch in the playoffs. I just thought this was kind of routine, you know, especially with Cleveland. The teams that they had back in the mid to late 90s, they were going to the playoffs every single year.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I missed out. and it's funny that you brought it up, the dynamic between the two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really interesting to me. I even asked that question, not 100% sure that you never did make it back to the postseason, but I couldn't remember one. So I was like, I know it's possible.
No, you asked it like you knew exactly. And I mean, that's exactly what it was.
The second Hall of Name candidate today is in honor of our guest, Jack Leggett. So this is a name that we have mentioned.
Okay.
So despite playing against most of the names that he mentioned when they were at Clemson, you were a teammate for a brief period of Chris Benson, formerly of Clemson, National Player of the Year at the college level in '96. I mean, just a tremendous pitcher in college and had a long, successful career in the bigs.
Yeah. So Chris Benson, and when Coach mentioned him earlier, I just kind of thought, yeah, I played with this guy, not for very long, just part of 2005. But prior to that, when he was with the Pirates, like I wasn't a big fan of his. Like I just felt like he was cocky, and I felt like he just thought he was big man, number 1 overall pick, and he was the Pirates' best pitcher for a few years. Then he ends up going to the Mets, and I signed with the Mets, and come to find out, he's like the nicest dude in the world. Like, and
so wait a minute, I had him written down as a Cleveland teammate, but he would have been up the same year you got traded.
I played with Chris in New York.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 2005.
But not in Cleveland.
Not in Cleveland.
He was the number 1 pick to the Pirates. I don't know why I had him listed as Cleveland. I think maybe I saw him when I was searching the Mets players and just put him in the wrong category, I think. So anyways, I had that you guys were teammates. That would have been awful had I mentioned a name and you guys weren't actually teammates.
Yeah. I just, thought he was the cocky guy because he was just a quiet guy. Like he didn't say much and just went about his own business. And, he wasn't like the outgoing, outspoken type guy, and which was cool. Like, but in New York, he was so cool, and like he always talked to me about like just non-baseball stuff, and he would be so calm and almost like not dry, but almost thinking, "Okay, go ahead, get the story out. What's the point here?" But it was just Chris, just so laid back. like nothing seemed to bother him. He was just very, very calm. And I was far from calm. New York's obviously a tough place to play. And for a quiet dude like him, he was able to handle it. I don't remember what his years were like there. I know he had a very outspoken wife, but he was so like just laid back. He could handle it playing anywhere.
Good stuff with Oral Hershiser. I was interested. The Danny Graves now, like if you could relive that, I imagine that's a situation where like you'd probably attempt to pick his brain a little bit more, but I think that's all of us in past life situations. And then B, I'm glad I didn't botch a Hall of Name name. I just had it written down for the wrong team.
No, hey, you got it right. It was a former teammate. But yes, I do wish I should have said. I should have said that I wish I would have picked his brain a little bit more because, you know, we were similar and like weren't like power pitchers. We relied a lot on movement and location, but you know, being a bullpen guy, I didn't get to sit with Oral much. I was always sitting with Joe Table, Jose Mesa.
Yeah.
You know? and then Shuey, when we got a chance to play together, got to sit with Paul Shuey. And so, I mean, I had some good guys to learn from, but nothing like the Bulldog.
No,
you know?
Nothing like the Bulldog.
Yeah.
All right. That's good stuff. We ran long today.
We
partially thanks to Jack Leggett.
And that's
really,
okay.
Really great of him. Really great of him to come on. Looking forward to seeing his number get retired and him get his due there at Clemson this weekend. So glad we could squeeze him in, if you will. As a reminder to our listeners, we're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at ACCBSBETC on each of those. Rate and review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to us. Subscribe on YouTube. Give us 5 stars, and we'll read comments on the show, which reminds me, we've got one, and we've got someone for whom we need to send some signed Danny Graves gear. Because
that's right.
Let me pull it up. This is I tweeted this out. This is how you leave a review. So if you're listening and you have not left a review like this of 5 stars, get on it. And we will get
what are you waiting for?
About sending you some stuff. What are you waiting for? This is from Phil D. He says, "Love it" is the title or the subject of the review. Danny's enthusiasm for the college game is contagious. Daron's observations and knowledge of each ACC program give the listener an in-depth look at some of the nation's best programs and personalities. Keep up the good work and give us more Elliott Avent. Obviously, an NC State supporter is Phil, but we appreciate that. Again, do that. Leave a review like that. Screenshot it. Send it to us on Twitter. We'll get in touch about an address, and we'll send you some signed stuff courtesy of the babyface assassin on the other screen.
Yeah,
there.
We can do that.
And if you want me to scribble on something, I can do that too. But just
we got to offer it though. We got to offer it.
We got to offer it 100%. So I'm glad to do that as well. Danny, you got anything else? What do you got coming up this week? I know you said you're in studio this weekend.
In studio this weekend, Saturday and Sunday up in Bristol. So covering hopefully some good series, some good games, and talking a little Major League Baseball throughout the week too. So
nice. Yeah, I saw the new show on Stadium.
With
Russell, right? Russell Dorsey.
Russell Dorsey, yeah. So we're doing that actually later today, every Monday and Thursday as of right now, and then hopefully it'll become a Monday through Friday thing.
Nice. Very good.
So
all right. So
be a lot of talking, man.
Be on the lookout for Danny Graves. As of now, there's always a chance that I get swept into one. Don't have any games this weekend. Rare thing. No games this weekend.
That's odd.
So I will be watching ACCN and listening to you talk about the series that take place. So, all right. He's Danny Graves. I'm Daron Vaught. Thanks again for listening. Go rate, review, subscribe, tell all your friends. This is a great show. So why wouldn't they want to listen?
That's right.
Until next week, we'll see you guys next time.